So now just to review a little bit of operant conditioning, which is what you're reading about in your chapter as well as it will be on a PowerPoint. Operant conditioning is by using either reinforcement or punishment, you're hoping to either add a new behavior or take a behavior away. So first let's start with reinforcement. Reinforcement is either positive or it's negative. And in reinforcement you are adding a new behavior. Okay, so you're either using a positive where you're adding something or you're taking something away. So positive reinforcement, to use the example of teaching a dog to sit, the easiest thing, when the dog sits, you give them a treat, which is a positive. You're adding to that to increase that behavior. Negative reinforcement, if I want to teach him to sit and he doesn't sit, I tighten up on his choke collar a little bit. When he sits, I loosen up on the choke collar and he sits. Negative reinforcement. I don't recommend that one when you can use the positive. So that's reinforcement. You are increasing the likelihood of a behavior. Punishment is when you want to take away a behavior that already exists. And I am not an advocate of punishment for kids or for animals in any way, and I will talk to you about that in just a little bit. It does have its place, and I do need to teach you about the basics. Positive, again, is, punishment, it can be positive or it can be negative. So here's an issue we're continuously working on with Dobie. When I walk through the door, he jumps up all over me. There are some ways I can handle this that could be positive punishment or negative punishment. Positive punishment is it means I'm going to add something to hopefully help him to stop jumping. One of the things that you could do, which I don't like to do, but I've seen a lot of people do it, is when he jumps up on you, you knee him. So you're giving him, the punishment saying, hey, knock that off, but you're adding something, hence positive. Negative would be, when he comes in, take away the attention that you usually give him until he doesn't jump. So I would try to turn my body around and ignore him until he's sitting nicely and quiet, then I would provide the attention back to him. So it's taking the attention away. So those are just the basics of reinforcement and punishment. And very quickly, let's just talk about types of reinforcements as well. We've got primary reinforcers and secondary reinforcers. So a primary reinforcer are basic needs. So in a dog, the basic needs are going to be food, the avoidance of any kind of danger, and reproduction. And so in thinking about training a dog, I'm going to look at those three, and I'm going to choose food. We're not going to have a reproduction lab going on to teach my dog tricks. And we don't have any danger, so he's going to be avoiding danger. So I'm going to choose using treats to train, okay? Secondary reinforcers are independent of the individual, as in people, or the breed of dogs. So an example of a secondary reinforcer, which these are motivators, let's take the greyhound dog. The greyhound is a high prey dog. So using those little squeaky toys that they can rip apart and play with would be a secondary reinforcement for this type of breed. If you were to take a, say, Australian Shepherd, let's say, this is a breed that is a herding breed, so they're very social. So for an Australian Shepherd, socializing would be a secondary reinforcer. Okay, so using operant conditioning, I'm going to teach Dobie a brand new skill based on prior knowledge. So I'm going to take the simple skill of sitting, which he has down pat, and I'm going to expand that to try to teach him to sit up. You're going to see me reinforcing him for something that's called successive approximations. So as he's getting closer and closer and closer to what I want him to do, I'm going to continue to reinforce him until I get the desired behavior perfectly. Then when I get it, I'm going to add the word so that he can associate the word with the behavior he's getting treated for. He's highly trainable, so I should have success with this actual skill, but we'll see how it goes because he is a dog. So Dobie, come. Front. Okay. Well, first of all, Dobie, do you have anything to say about this training? Do you want to speak? Do you have anything to say? Speak. Speak to me. I'm waiting. Speak. Yes, very good. Okay. And Dobie, before we get going, who is your favorite person? That's right, in the whole wide world, your mommy. Very, very good. Okay, sit. All right, Dobie, you ready for some new skills here? Okay, Dobie, front, sit. All right, up. How'd you do that already? Up, yes. Dope. And he's already taking to it. Right now he might need my arm, which is what I'm doing. I'm not saying anything, I'm just reinforcing behavior. Yes. 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 Reinforcement, reinforcement. He's close. I want him to be able to do this on command with the word, but he's not quite yet there. So I'm going to continue to reinforce the approximations. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm going to add the word now. Sit up. Yes. Sit up. Yes. Sit up. Yes. See if he can do it without the arm. Sit up. Sit up. No. Oops. He made a mistake, so instead of scolding, I just say oops, which is very gentle. Come, front. Front. Okay. Sit up. Yes. Sit up. Yes. Sit up. Yes. So I've added the word. Sit up. Yes. Sit up. Yes. He may be having structural issues with this sitting up because of his breed. It may be difficult for him to actually do this without my arm. Yes. Okay, let's see if we can get it this time. Dobie, sit up. Yes. Dobie, sit up. There, yes. Okay, so there we have it. Operant conditioning using reinforcement, successive approximations. I will continue to work on this skill as I shape his behavior to including sitting up without using my arm as a crutch and just knowing it with the words. But hopefully you got the basic idea of that. And thank you, Dobie. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about is two other techniques in learning and training. And they fall under habituation. And habituation just basically means that you get used to it. So because you're getting used to something, you no longer have the same initial response that you had. So an example of habituation, I'm going to use my son for this one. We've had Dobie since he was 8 weeks old, so he knows nothing but a loud house with toddlers, right, having tantrums and running around the house with toys and screaming and having a great old time. So he's really habituated, if you will, to a great deal of noise. Hence, I'll let you see some of the things Brady can do to this dog. And I have tried to tell Brady over and over and over again that not all dogs are like this. And so please do not try this with other dogs. This is an example of a dog who has been habituated to these stimuli, okay? Yes, you can. So go ahead and lay with Dobe. Do what you're going to do. So Brady, Brady can lay on Dobe. Lay down, Dobe. Down. You can hug him, play with his ears, right? Give him a kiss. Now, usually a dog would not have this, unless they've been habituated to this. So my son has to be very careful in approaching other dogs because he assumes, well, can't I just kiss every dog? And the answer is big, capital N-O. Okay, so these two are two peas in a pod, and literally this dog will put up with just about anything. Having said that, he's still a dog, and I would never, ever, ever, ever leave them alone because we're still talking about a dog and a child. So yes, he's a good dog, but we need to be careful. So there's two types of habituations I want to cover, and then that's going to be it for today. The first type is called flooding. And flooding is when you just immerse yourself in the situation, immerse yourself around the stimulus, whatever it is that causes the reaction, with the idea that hopefully you're just going to get used to it, right? Habituation. I use flooding on myself because I absolutely hate flying. I will not let this phobia get in the way of my life because I have family on the East Coast, I have family in Northern California, and I like to travel. So I just have committed to flooding myself. So every time I fly, I flood myself, and I just do it. The fear is a little bit less. It's not gone, but it definitely is not as bad because I'm a little habituated to the whole idea of that. The second type of habituation is called desensitization, okay? And that is when you take lower level a lower level of the stimulus and you build up to the highest level, and you practice relaxation skills at each level. So by the time you get to that stimulus that does create the reaction in you, you've learned some coping and relaxation skills. So we see this in the use of phobias quite a bit, where you teach progressive muscle relaxation, breathing techniques to get your body in a state of relaxation as you visualize the stimulus or visualize the fear at first a low level, building up to a higher level. So habituation is another type of technique or training method you could use. The last two things I lied. There were two more things I wanted to say. One is you can do counter operant conditioning, which basically means you're training an incompatible behavior. Okay, so it's called counter operant conditioning. So an example of this, which I actually see quite often on the street when I'm walking my dog, is I'll be walking along and a dog will be freaking out because they see my dog and they're just going ballistic. And this particular dog I'm thinking about, the owner carries a belt or a baseball bat to scare the you-know-what out of his dog when he does that. Well, of course that's punishment and that's cruel, and I'm not advocating that at all. I wish I could say to this guy, hey, I have a better technique for you. Why don't you train your dog an alternate, incompatible skill so that he'll be distracted when the dogs are walking by instead of frightened, because now he's associated other dogs walking with getting beaten by a bat or a belt, which now he has a negative association. So what I would do in that situation is if my dog were going ballistic when we see other dogs in the horizon, I would teach my dog an alternate, incompatible behavior of minding me at that moment. So I might have a bully stick, which is not to bully the dog. Bully stick is a highly enjoyable treat. It's a reinforcer that dogs love. And I would make my dog sit, and then I would make him spin, and then I'd make him lay down, and then I'd make him, high-five me, or every trick I have. But the idea is I'm making him focus on me, and I'm treating him constantly so he can associate, wow, the dogs are coming along. I'm going to get treats now. I'm going to have fun. So I'm distracting him, and that's called counter operant conditioning. Counter classical conditioning, same idea. A perfect example of classical conditioning gone awry would be when an animal associates the crate. Let's say you have a little dog. I wouldn't take him in a crate, but you put a little dog in a crate to bring him to the vet. And every time he goes to the vet, he's around crying dogs and he gets a shot or something. So he's now associated this crate with getting shots at the vet, and so he goes into panic mode. You can counter condition that by associating yummy treats with the crate. So now all of a sudden he's associating treats with the crate and makes going to the vet that much more manageable for you. So hopefully you have some basic understanding of how operant conditioning works, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.